Hello, Internet. Hi. I think I am now coming through. I might be coming through double. I'm making up for lost time.
Okay. You are coming through. You are coming through now. You're quite quiet, so you might want to turn yourself up a bit.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Let's... Hello? Hello? Is that better? Hello, hello. Hi. I promise you, this is how we start every stream. If anyone is interested in becoming a sound engineer for the Explorers of Elsewhere, please let us know in the chat below. Hi. Right, are we good? Are we audible? Can you five hear me? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Beautifully well.
Amazing. In which case, am I lagging a little bit? Am I loud enough?
No, not at all.
We're all good. Right, flawless execution, everyone. Pat yourselves on the back. Welcome. Who'd have thought that I've got 3 campaigns of experience under the belt so far? Hello, hi. My name is DM Dan. I'm going to turn this music down a little bit. That was just the epicness of the start of this stream. Are you feeling epic? Hi, I'm DM Dan. We are the Explorers of Elsewhere. We are technical savants.
Indeed.
And we are here to introduce Campaign 3 of the channel.
Hey.
Welcome, everyone. Hi. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, for those of you in chat, hello, hello. Thank you for joining in. Hello, Carl from Budapest. Yeah, we're here. Campaign 3. It doesn't feel like yesterday. It's been quite a long time since we had a major campaign, but we've kept ourselves busy, we've kept ourselves entertained. I certainly have, getting ready for a brand new campaign with a brand new rule set. It's here, it's hidden by my name.
Oh,
upside down. We have it in our hands, and we are ready to dagger some hearts. Yes, I'm extremely excited for this campaign, and I'm excited to see what we kind of come up with, both from ourselves and from you, our loving audience. And by we, I also mean Nate over there.
hello.
Livy just below.
Hello.
Georgia down there.
Hello.
Theo below Livy.
Hello.
And Tim down in the bottom corner. Hello, hello. Yes. So for any of you who have been following us on YouTube and or Twitch, a lot of these faces are going to be familiar. Nate, Livy, Georgia, and Theo, you are all part of Tales from Elsewhere, which was our... it was effectively like our Daggerheart beta test playthrough, wasn't it? Testing out the rules, seeing how they were. And evidently, Darrington Press did a good enough job that you decided to come back. I did a good enough job that you decided to come back. And I am eternally grateful for you coming back. Also coming back is Tim, all the way from... Hello! Hailing from Campaign 1. A impactful soiree into Campaign 2. A very, very impactful one-up.
A fleeting but impactful.
Yes. So, yes, I'm really glad to have you back, Tim. Looking forward to putting you through your paces along with the other 4 of you.
Pleasure to be here.
So, what are we doing tonight? So this is session 0. Campaign 2 ended at the end of 2024, so I've had a fair bit of time to think about what's Campaign 3 is all about. We've already had a couple of sessions between the 6 of us to kind of figure out what we would like from the campaign, what would be cool to have, and so on and so forth. So we've got a pretty good outline already. As Daggerheart has been playable during beta playtest, we've already got 5 kind of like quasi characters. They're pretty much sketched out, but officially the rules, which are releasing tomorrow, will allow us to see what needs to be tweaked, and we can cement in final changes. But all of the sort of like the non-mechanically crunchy bits of our characters, I think, are all basically done, and we're going to present them to you tonight. That'll basically be our first half. In the second half, we'll look at the setting of the campaign, the Titan Isles, as it says here, and the wonderful overlay just to my left. And yeah, we'll kind of introduce you to where the campaign's going to take place. Give you maybe a couple of tasty morsels, a few tidbits as to what you might expect during this campaign, just to kind of give you an idea of what kind of direction we're narratively heading in over the space of the next 20-ish weeks. Live. It's the first major campaign that is live. So you'll be treated weekly, starting from next Monday to whatever Campaign 3 has in store for us. So, with all that said, yes, if you're in chat, hello, welcome along. Thank you for joining. If you like, while we're nattering, if you've got any kind of questions or ideas or thoughts about what we're presenting, then by all means let us know, because one thing that we're really trying to embrace with Campaign 3 and use Daggerheart as a rule set is it's a more natively kind of collaborative world building experience as far as TTRPGs go, but I think it's only fair, for us, if that collaboration also extends to the other side of this camera, to you at home or wherever you are watching or listening, because your input is going to be hopefully can be just as impactful as ours. And yeah, if you've got a cracking idea and it turns out that becomes like the moment of the campaign, that would be absolutely awesome. But yes, enough of me prattling on. We have some characters to introduce. How's best we do this? I reckon I'm gonna go in an anti-clockwise rotation. So it's gonna be Livy up first. Exciting. Exciting. So while I get everything prepped and ready, Livy, could you be ever so kind, as to introduce us to your character for Campaign 3?
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to be playing Abe. He's a guardian keeper. So a guardian in Daggerheart is sort of similar to a kind of paladin-esque sort of role. So big sort of flesh shield of a man. He is big. Very big, 8 foot big.
Big change. 8 foot plus, I would argue.
8 foot plus, yeah. I mean, yeah, on his tippy hoofs.
He's big with a capital G.
And yeah, he's just like a regular guy, kind of, just a normal fella. He's quite old. He lives quite a solitary lifestyle. Main sort of inspiration for this role was kind of 3 different people. So one of them no one will know apart from me. So it's a mixture of Mark Wahlberg in Shooter,
Right.
living a retired life away from everyone, and doesn't want to get involved with anything. 2, Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino, living life, not wanting to get interrupted by anyone, and my boyfriend's granddad, who is probably the most Bristolian man you'll ever meet, and half the time you don't know what he's saying.
He's 8'6", right?
He's 8'6". Yeah.
Nice.
And has horns. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wait, your fella's granddad is 8'6" as well.
Yeah.
Marvelous.
Yeah. And lives in a hole in the hill.
Perfect inspiration.
Half goat.
That's a big old
Half goat. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think we've already you've definitely painted a picture of who Abe is. What to sort of like give us a little bit of context. What do you imagine Abe is up to in the prelude of campaign 3? Like as we kind of shine the lights at the start of the campaign, what's Abe been doing?
So Abe lives a pretty self-sufficient lifestyle. He lives on an area which is called the Mound on the island, away from the general sort of consensus of people. If we zoomed in on him right now, he'd be probably tinkering around on his vegetable patch, growing things to pickle, and cutting down trees, making firewood, and telling people to get off of his lawn.
Nice. Okay. And yeah, I guess we'll certainly end up seeing what like draws Abe into the adventure when we start proper next week. I mean, is there anything is there any kind of facet of Abe that you're like quite enamored or excited to do, whether it's from the character build or like from your rules, like from the Daggerheart mechanics?
Yeah, I mean, one, I like playing stronger characters, I'll be honest. And my last campaign, I played someone very unstrong and very small. So I'm excited to try out more of because I haven't really tried a melee sort of base character in Daggerheart yet. Haven't done that. I've been all sort of finesse and agility, so I think that'll be really interesting. And also, I normally charismatic. I normally kind of play charismatic people. Not to say that Abe isn't charismatic in his own way, but I think more of a sort of stoic, level-headed person is going to be more interesting for me, because that is not who I am at all. I am very distracted by shiny objects, and Abe is not distracted by shiny objects.
I mean, he is, arguably, by all metrics, the opposite to your Tales from Elsewhere character, Rayri.
Yeah, I couldn't go further from Rayri, to be honest. And
physically, mentally, emotionally, he is the other side of the world to Rayri.
I mean, the temptation just to make another Rayri was strong.
Yeah.
But no, I'm gonna go full serious-ish boy.
Sure. Okay, amazing. Well, so that is Abe. So did you mention his class?
Yeah, so Guardian. So yeah, similar to Paladin, but without. Well, it's kind of like somewhere between fighter and bot. It's not. It's his own thing. It's Daggerheart. It's his own thing. You can't really describe it, but big, strong tank.
Amazing
tank.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing Abe striding headfirst into danger? ? When we kick off. Thank you, Livy. Thank you. Continuing round. Next we have Theo. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. So, if you could, for the benefit of the audience, could you introduce us to your character?
I can. So, hi, I'm Theo, and I'll be playing Cooper, who is a dragon scent rogue. So, in the world of Elsewhere, dragon scents are kind of like what are they called? The Asimar of the D&D world.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like godly offspring, I guess, kind of like blessings upon the universe. And we have Cooper, who's one of these. Inspirations for Cooper. If you are a fan of Star Wars, Han Solo is a massive influence. I'm going for kind of a lovable scoundrel type. I was also thinking as well of Malcolm Reynolds from Firefly and Spike from Cowboy Bebop. It's very different to, again, my last character, who was a bit more stoic, a bit harder to come across with his emotions. Cooper is very emotional in his own way all of the time. He's going to be quite mouthy. I think he's going to talk quite a bit. He's going to show all of his emotions all the time. And I think that's going to be really fun to play in this kind of environment we're setting up. He's a rogue. I've never played a rogue before. Again, a bit like Livy, I played a Guardian in Tales of Elsewhere, and Guardians are a lot more meat shieldy and fighty, which works really well for Cal. Cooper's design is that he's going to be more finesse based and more sneaky fighty from the side based, which is going to be fun because, again, I haven't really played that. Even in any of my RP characters, have mostly been wanting to get stuck in, and I think Cooper is someone who likes to stand back and do his fighting from the sides, so it's going to be interesting to see how I adapt to that as much as anything else.
I think what's interesting about the Daggerheart rogue is that it seems to have this much more kind of innate magical inclination to like rogues from other tabletop RPGs. I think you can build it so you don't take those, because obviously you're sort of like cherry picking the bits from your two domains that you like. But yeah, I think it arguably reinforces that like sly skulker kind of archetype. So yeah, very interesting stuff. What do you imagine this lovable scoundrel has been up to in the preludes to campaign 3?
So he's just finished a job in the town that we're starting off in. And he's, for whatever reason, we'll not get into that just yet, but he hasn't left yet. He's waiting on kind of a go-ahead to leave. So I think he's kind of feeling a little trapped, kind of stuck in this place, making friends, but probably desperately wanting to leave. I think he's not someone who likes to stick around in one place. So yeah, having to stick around anywhere for a long period of time makes him a bit antsy. Just wants to get on and do the next thing. So yeah, that's what he's up to at the moment. But yeah, he's very much his day-to-day is do a job, go to the next place, do a job, go to the next place. Yeah. You know, if he sticks around too long, people will recognize him. He's not like he's pretty visible as a dragon scent and colouring and everything else. So he kind of has to kind of keep moving, otherwise people are going to catch up with him. Maybe things will catch up with him for this campaign.
I wouldn't tell. Yes, okay. Very, very cool. Well, I mean, you've kind of touched on it a little bit already, but was there anything in particular about Cooper, about Rogue, about like Daggerheart that's kind of most intrigued you? Like anything you're quite excited by?
I'm excited about how to use the experiences with the Rogue, because obviously there's I don't think I used my experiences as well as I'd have liked to for Tales of Elsewhere, and I want to make sure that this time I'm using them correctly, because I think it's such an interesting dynamic to have within the campaign of like, I want to make my character be, defined by an experience. So yeah, I'm looking forward to using that. I've kind of designed 3, which I think work quite well. One is like street smarts. Okay. One is Lucky Devil, so I can basically kind of roll to see if he can get away with something. which is fun. And the idea of a jack of all trades. So like, if he's not done something before, I can kind of maybe convince you to be like, well, he might have experience in this, and see where it goes. Because I think that's, again, part of his MO is someone who will just try something. Yeah. And I think it works for his character. So again, I think that's the fun thing about Daggerheart, is you're able to kind of come up with really interesting conceits for those experiences to work. So I'm excited to see how they will play out.
Amazing stuff. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to Cooper. He's well, weirdly, I mean, given that campaign 2 was nothing but rogues for all intents and purposes, I'm interested to see like the rogue archetype out in the wild. Amazing. Real quick, Theo, if I could get you to refresh your video, and then I think your video's dipped out, but you're
nice.
But yeah, cool. And whilst you're doing that, we will smoothly on to Nate.
Me?
Yeah, you,
hello,
buddy. So, what is the deal with your character?
So I'm going to be playing Griffin. He is an Asavar bard, specifically a Sanguivar bard. So if everyone remembers from campaign 2 and from Tales as well, Sanguivar are Asavar who have red eyes, believing to be sort of like a mark of the betrayer Khan, from Aya herself. So yeah, he's a very positive chap, superly positive, to the point probably to annoyance to some people. He just likes to know about everyone. He likes to know their story. He likes to know like where they've been, where they're going, what they're doing, and he likes to take those stories and make them into the songs that he plays, and that he uses to entertain people. And he believes his overabounding positivity about things is what makes people like him, which might not necessarily be the case. It might just get them to just say, could you just bugger off, please? Okay. Yeah, there's been a couple of inspirations for him. One of them being Prito from the Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. The massive sort of like golden retriever energy in a small chihuahua sort of personality I really liked. There's a little bit of Steed Bonnet from Our Flag Means Death in him as well, just because he does come from he wears sort of like aristocratic clothes, quite noble clothes, but you can tell that they're quite beaten, quite worn, that he wears probably pretty much like the same jacket over and over again. So he comes from some sort of nobility. It's just hard to tell because he's just looks like he's worn the same thing for like the past 3 years. Sure. Yeah, and just other sort of like very positive, very goofy characters that I sort of know and love. And yeah, he's probably where he's been since our beginning. He's been sort of wandering elsewhere. He's a massive sort of wanderer, just sort of goes from portal to portal. He probably is the kind of person who will just pop out of one portal in Avamore and then just pop into the next one straight away without trying to sort of avert the guards, so that he can just pop to the new place and find out new things. And yeah, he's probably just found himself on this new island. He's probably made a couple of friends who he's quite just interested to sort of hanging around with because they're great. And why, obviously the reason why they're not leaving is because now we're best friends and we're just going to stay together and we're going to like until like the next thing where we go on another adventure. It'd be brilliant. What do you think? Cooper, what do you think, Cooper? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because Griffin does have a new best friend.
He does have a new best friend. He has a new best friend, and why would they want to leave? They're on a lovely island. Like, it sounds brilliant.
Amazing. So, yes, well, that's Griffin, and again, in comparison to your Tales character Azakar, just like polar, like hot and cold polar opposites.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I think I had like a lot of fun playing Azakar and playing the sort of very sort of militaristic sort of character that he was. But now I've kind of want to go into like a little bit, and as much as like Kavrin was quite fun, like he, you know, he was still quite sleazy. He was still quite, you know, sort of just wanted to get in people's pants a lot of the time. And Griffin is just what he just wants to be people's best friend. So I've never played a bard before, neither like in D&D or anything else, so that drew it to me. One of the things that really drew me to it was something that Georgia said actually after playing Alfric, was the fact that the bard can be shaped very much like a sorcerer, which I quite liked the idea of. And I think that will, as his history sort of comes out, that will play a lot into the history that will sort of develop him. But yeah.
Do you know, sorry, I forgot to ask Thea this, but do you know what flavour of bard you're going for?
He is a troubadour bard, so he's mostly sort of like around. So I think they've got like the poetic bard, which is more about words, and he's a troubadour bard, which means he plays music. He's got a little concertina that he plays, which obviously wasn't a faff for you in Hero Forge at all, Dan.
All I can say is that the new tools in Hero Forge are really powerful and let me do so many things if I spend long enough prodding and poking them.
Yeah, that's Griffin.
Amazing. What is there one thing or some things very in particular about Griffin, Daggerheart, that most excites you? Makes you as excited as Griffin?
I think I'm definitely excited for the campaign that we're going to play, because I think it's going to be it's definitely much different compared to campaign 2. And like obviously getting more back into that sort of combat as well. I think I played, obviously when we did the very first beta test, I played a sorcerer, and with Azakar there wasn't very much magic with him, but I've built Griffin to have a little bit more magic to him, so it's going to be interesting seeing if I can remember all of that, remember to say, oh, I can do that as well. So that's one thing that I'm interested sort of about, and I'm just interested to see how the rules have changed really when we find out everything tomorrow. So seeing what, I mean, you just looking the other day, like things have already changed massively compared to like the last update. So yeah, it's just what has, and we've seen little snippets from your rulebook as well, like the fact that you got like an early copy, nothing by special or anything, it just turned up early. There's like a couple of things that have been added specifically to the Troubadour Bard that wasn't there originally, I think. So it would be interesting to see, like, I originally now have this on my character sheet, but that's going to change by tomorrow, and then relearning that. So yeah, I'm interested to see where we're going to go with the story. I'm excited to play Griffin. I'm excited to play like because my last two characters, even though they're very different personalities, they weren't like massively positive. So I'm excited to play like an incredibly sort of positive, like excitable character.
And in actual fact, I quickly mentioned it now because you glossed over it. The Daggerheart rules release tomorrow officially. So tomorrow we are going to be running another live stream. So you'll see some of these beautiful faces here joining me, where fundamentally we're going to go through this chonkus of a rulebook. We're going to look at sort of like what's changed between sort of like beta and now. We're going to be paying a little bit of attention to how the characters are being updated as a result of the rules change. And now we've got the full picture. I mean, I know I'm certainly going to be looking through some of the campaign frames, which are sort of like the campaign settings. There's a whole section with loads of settings in the rulebook. And then just kind of going, oh, this is cool. Oh, this is cool. Oh, I might steal a bit of this, steal a bit of that. So it's just going to be a bit of a nerd out, a geek out, as we kind of pour through the book just to see what's what. So yeah, that's going to be tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. same as it was tonight. And then we'll basically go through until we run out of things to giggle and point at. Amazing stuff. Thank you, Nate, for introducing us to Griffin. Next up is Georgia. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Who, pray tell, are you playing in campaign 3?
I will be playing Cassandre, who is an Asavar sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I believe sorcerers are quite similar to how they are presented in other TTRPGs, which would be interesting because in the last game we played, I played a bard, and I did not expect the amount of magic that a bard entailed. I arrived expecting to be a buffing character, and I suddenly had magic in my hands. So I thought this time I would play a more conventional magic user.
No, that's amazing. So yeah, what's the deal with Cassandra? Who is she when we meet her?
So she is in my head currently, she's a mixture between Helen Hunt in Twister, with a little bit of Indiana Jones, maybe some Lara Croft in there. She is the ultimate librarian. She desperately wants knowledge. She wants to find that knowledge. She spent the entire war previous to the setting sneaking into places she shouldn't to find that knowledge, and she's continued that to this day. She is relentless, possibly to the detriment of herself and everyone around her.
Amazing. Yes, because I suppose she's been quite busy. So for reference, as this is campaign 3, we're kind of continuing tradition. This is taking place 3 years after the eschaton. So there's been a sudden influx, an uptick in the need for people to explore and discover things anew.
Very nosy, very brave people to go into portals and see what's what.
Amazing. So with that in mind, if we've got this sort of like real kind of like a real hardcore spelunker.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Where is Cassandre immediately before campaign 3 starts?
So she has joined the Explorers.
Okay.
So that has been her job for the last 3 years. She has been helping to unearth where everything went after the eschaton. So she is on her way to our next setting to see what's been going on there, what towns have sprung up. She's there to help and cause a nuisance. She's heard some things. She's heard some things she wants to hear. She wants to explore. She wants to find, and she's going to make it everyone's problem.
Amazing. Yes. It's interesting. Like I'm going to be interested to see how it pans out. This is like we're back in the whole world as opposed to campaign 2. But yeah, we have a party of like a split in the party of explorers and non-explorers. So I think it's going to be interesting to see sort of like how, like if there's any tension that rises from that, or you know how that is it an oil and water relationship between people that just want to live their lives and people that want to like find the new horizons. Amazing. Is there any particular parts? Obviously, I mean, you quite rightly mentioned that Alfric was a bard, so there's like half of your options that you can pick as a sorcerer are shared with bard, but is there anything mechanically or characterally or anything like that you're super kind of excited for?
I'm very interested to get my hands properly into the magic system, because again I approached Alfric and I didn't realize the extent of magic that would be available to me, so I'm very excited to go into a character knowing specifically, oh, this is spells, this is a magic deck, and to see how I can put that to use. I'm very excited for that, I think, most of all, and also just to see how Cassandre interacts with everyone. Last time, same as everyone, I played quite a squishy, desperate to please little man, and Cassandre definitely isn't that, so that's going to be fun.
And I mean, in terms of getting on with everyone, is this the moment that we just drop just a little bit of the bath bomb in? Yeah. Is there anyone in particular in the group that you feel it might be more or less challenging?
Cassandre might have known Cooper just a little bit in the past. They might have been married. It's been a while.
You heard it here first, folks. We've got our first divorced couple in a party. So yeah, back when I was like, oh, the relationship between explorers and non-explorers. I wonder if that will cause any tension. Buckle up. Amazing. Okay, so thank you very much. That is Cassandre. And last but certainly not least, we have our good boy Tim. Who are you playing, good sir?
I am playing Ghadi. Ghadi is a Majani druid. So just as a reminder, in the EOE world, the Majani are the crystal-headed, vaguely more in tune with magic folk of the world. And he has acted as the druid for his nomadic tribe for quite a few years. And for an awfully long time was practicing rituals that his family had passed down generation upon generation. They probably did something right, you know. Hope, but you're going to get a good harvest and stuff. It's all good. As of the Eschaton and the Great War, suddenly they did start working very well.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been more recently kind of getting used to having fully fledged druidic abilities now that there's more nature magic in the world, and has been using that to kind of look after and provide spiritual guidance to his tribe for the last couple of years. But things are getting a little bit ropier at the moment. The rains are not as regular as they used to be. So he's thinking he might try and do something about it.
Okay, interesting. Was there any particular inspiration that you were drawing from when you were coming up with Ghadi?
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of more an archetype almost than any specific characters, in terms of being the sort of slightly naive but very spiritual kind of spiritual leader. Probably a little bit of Gandalf the Grey in there, maybe a little bit of like Uncle Iroh, actually, in terms of some of the personality, and a little bit, which is a pull, Moses from Prince of Egypt.
That was one I wasn't expecting.
I mean, there you go. So yeah, I mean, that's the sort of mix I'm going with. Who knows what he's going to end up like in a couple of sessions time.
Sure. No, that's amazing. So, well, you mentioned sort of like, I guess you've already kind of answered it. In terms of sort of like where Ghadi, well, you've mentioned Ghadi's kind of call to action, like the hero's call. But where do we find him? Like immediately before campaign 3, like what's happened in the last kind of few months?
So in the most recent days, he left his tribe probably a month or two ago, and has spent quite a lot of time just getting acclimatized to being in a city around 100 times more people than he's seen in his entire life so far. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a bit of a shock to the system, but he's just been kind of wandering around trying to collect information about anything that might be able to help with the problems that his tribe are running into. Luckily assisted a little bit by Cassandre, who he's bumped into, and has made sure more than once that he hasn't had all of his money stolen.
Amazing.
Cool.
Yes. It's so we have a 2 to 3 split of explorers to non-explorers in the party, and I would argue, like from the vibe that I've been getting from like what you've been saying about Ghadi, he himself is also a bit of a like a polar opposite to your previous Elsewhere character, Galena in campaign 1. Was there anything in particular about Ghadi that is, or Daggerheart or anything like that that's kind of that you're most looking forward to?
So I think, well, when it comes to playing Druid, to be honest, that's kind of like the soul class that I've always gone back to in other games that I've played. But I've been away from it for long enough that I can now allow myself to have just one more hit. It's not going to do any harm, just a little bit of Druid. But coming back to that in a bit of a different way, like with Galena in campaign 1, she was quite in the vibe of characters that I like to play. She's a little bit cheeky, like she is, she tries to use her smarts a lot. She is secretly tortured. So yeah, I think just trying out a nice lad, a nice sweet boy who's just trying to do his best is quite out of type from what I usually go for.
That's
and yeah, obviously when it comes to playing Daggerheart, that's unlike some of the other guys. I've not had a chance to really dig my teeth into it before, so looking forward to jumping into a new system and seeing what's going on with it.
Yeah. Well, I can say from experience that the Daggerheart Druid is a lot more it's a lot more evocative, I guess, in a way. I mean, because I would argue that I'm a premier font of knowledge for druids, thanks to my character Genbrick. But yeah, I think
People's champion.
Exactly. Yeah, it just there's a lot I've noticed that the Daggerheart Druid is able to do, and yeah, because of the way Daggerheart works, the fact you can choose from sort of like the 2 domains, really you can really kind of dive into particular aspects of druidism that really appeal. So yeah, really looking forward to that. And I think that something that I'm kind of interested in as someone who's had a background in sort of like MMORPG type games, you've also chosen to go for like a renewal druid.
Yeah, you got to have a healer.
So I'm intrigued to see if like the healer archetype, much in the way that Livy will most likely be stepping up to like the tank archetype with the Guardian. I'm really interested to see if that feels like more fulfilling as an archetype to play than it might do in other games. Yeah, really. What I'm trying to say is I'm looking forward to throwing even worse, like even harder scenarios at the 5 of you, because Tim can heal you.
Tim's just going to heal us all up.
Right?
Constantly. He's just going to be there.
Sure. Sure I am.
Classic dungeon.
Make friends with the healer. Make friends with the healer.
Treat
Make
the
friends
healer
with the
right.
healer.
So that is just quickly talking to chat. So yeah, thank you very much. That is Ghadi, and we have a party that's not quite a party yet, but it will be soon. So yeah, just to kind of recap, I can turn this on now. Boom. So to recap, we have Abe, the keeper, stalwart guardian.
Stalwart
Guardian. We have Cooper, the dragon scent
Syndicate
rogue. We have Griffin, the Sanguivar troubadour. Bard. We have Cassandre, the Asavar primal elemental sorcerer, begging pardon. And we have Ghadi, the Majani renewal druid. Marvelous.
Nailed it.
Yeah, we have a party. There was something really in terms of the characters. I'll do a quick flyby for anyone who's kind of interested in Daggerheart and is wondering. Part of the appeal, part of what we kind of realised during Tales, in kind of realising the heritages of elsewhere, so the Loravar, the Aesfar, the sprites, the goblins, is that we could quite happily just go ahead and use the mixed heritage, the mixed ancestry rules from Daggerheart. So Daggerheart has humans, elves, dwarves, orcs, goblins, all the ones that you might expect to see in a fantasy setting. But then there is the option to take sort of like traits from two different ancestries if you are of a mixed, if you've got mixed parents, and it basically end up at a halfway point. So the way that we've co-opted that for elsewhere is by kind of looking at all of the Daggerheart ancestry like abilities, and then once we divided them out into like primary and secondary, we've then allocated them to the elsewhere heritages. So what that in particular is ever so slightly up in the air because we're waiting for the rules to go live proper to see where things have fully landed. But it does mean that quite happily within the bounds of Daggerheart, we are able to realise pretty honest representations of the people of elsewhere. So playing a Loravar in Daggerheart can feel pretty similar to playing a Loravar in D&D or Blades in the Dark or so on and so forth. So yeah, that I've been really quite excited about. It's just been nice and easy to implement. Marvelous. Okay, we are coming up to, so we've been live about 50 minutes. We're going to talk next about the like the campaign world, like the campaign setting, and everything. Like what is campaign 3 about? Where is it going to take place? What is the Titan? What are the Isles and why do they belong to Titan? Yeah, who is this Titan? They have their own Isles. Do we want to go for a quick 10-minute break and then jump back? We'll go through the world, the setting, and yeah, we'll just kind of. If there are any questions that you in chat have, by all means, chuck them there for us to read. We'll have a little look through those. But yeah, 10 minutes.
Sounds good.
Cool. Good. Beautiful. So we will be back just after 8:30. We will see you then. Boy.
Au revoir.
Hello, world. Welcome back. It is us, the Explorers of Elsewhere, diving into our session 0 for campaign 3. The Titan Isles. Hi, welcome. So, in the first half, we kind of did a little exploration of our characters. I've realised that my camera is wildly lagging.
Yeah, it's going crazy.
That's how excited I am. I really hope I'm moving at the speed of light. My goodness, is that 10 minutes worth of camera catching up? No, we're good. We're back. Good.
Yeah,
right.
There we go.
I have rejoined the time stream, the same time stream as all of you.
We've vibrated back into our dimension.
Yes, yeah. I temporarily transferred myself into the realm of Daggerheart, and I've just pulled myself back. Yeah, hi, hello. I don't normally move like that. My name's Dan. We are the Explorers of Elsewhere. This is session 0 of campaign 3, the Titan Isles. now that excitement's down, let's turn down the music a little bit. Yes, we in the first half we have introduced our 5 characters, our 5 PCs for the campaign. So we have Abe, Cooper, Griffin, Cassandre, and Ghadi, and their little spotlight portraits are just flashing along in the middle of the screen here as we speak. But yeah, first of all, next up, if we have our characters for a campaign, then we also need our setting for the campaign. So this half we're just gonna kind of go over some of the things about what the Titan Isles are, maybe kind of dive in a little bit to sort of like why we decided that this would be the setting that we're going for, why we've chosen Daggerheart, all this sort of like a little bit more behind the scenes-y kind of stuff. We'll also be touching on some of the decisions that we have made as a group about the campaign. So like before now we've already done a sort of like a traditional session 0, but we'll kind of touch on some of those points that we all kind of agreed on in this half. So for those of you who haven't seen it, I have a method in plan in mind. Some people might call it lazy. I would refer to it as efficient. But to give you a real kind of quick and easy top-down look on what the Titan Isles is, I'm going to pass the mic over to my good friend and confidant, Azorius Lovekraft, cartographer extraordinaire, and let him kind of give you a quick introduction to the Isles. See you in a bit.
Welcome to the Titan Isles. It can sometimes be hard to imagine that such a verdant place of beauty is only as old as elsewhere is new, a result of the cataclysmic effects of the eschaton just over 3 years ago. It is said that in those tumultuous times, a mountain range from faraway lands fell through the tears of reality and landed here, sinking beneath the waves to form the islands we now see today. The islands were discovered by an explorer expedition about a year and a half ago, ultimately founding the bustling seaside town of Dawlishal. Having realised the main landmass was too wild to settle safely, the explorers nonetheless uncovered the isle's fascinating secret. The land was home to not one, but 2 world spirits, slumbering primal deities helping to mend elsewhere in the aftermath of the War of Dragons and the ensuing eschaton. We now know that the world spirits are called Faiza and Burunan, living incarnations of frost and fire respectively, and from what little contact we've had with the few natives on the Isles, these gods, or titans as they refer to them, are seen as sacred protectors of this land. Not wanting to intrude on what the natives consider holy ground, we explorers have developed Dawlishal into a real hotspot of activity. A quaint coastal town in the archipelago's southern bay, built on the side of what was once a mountain peak that we now call the Mound. Dawlishal is a gleaming example of the possibilities afforded to us by the rediscovery and the explorer expeditions. With portal access directly to Avamore, the capital of the rediscovered world, Dawlishal enjoys a strong trade route and a booming tourism industry. If you get the chance, definitely experience the boat tour around the Isles. Curiously, a number of reports have recently been drifting back to Avamore of strange and unusual weather events lingering over the resting spots of the 2 titans. As our story begins, 5 individuals find themselves drawn into the investigation of this magical phenomena, which may lead to uncovering more secrets and danger that dwells upon the island.
I am excited to introduce the Titan Isles, the third campaign in the Elsewhere setting, comprised of 20 sessions played live on YouTube and on Twitch. Using the brand new Daggerheart rule set from Critical Role and Darrington Press, we will follow a team up of intrepid individuals as they investigate the strange occurrences on an island inhabited by gods. I'm thrilled to welcome back some of our players from our recent Daggerheart playtest side adventure, Tales from Elsewhere, as well as other returning players, all with brand new characters as we explore a new land using a new rule set. So join us as we venture into the untamed wilds of the Isles. Join us as 5 heroes rise up in the face of unprecedented disaster to try and stop a new era of devastation. Join us as the ascension begins. Woo! There we go, everybody. Cool. I've not fallen out of the time stream, the time stream this time, so we're all good.
Yeah.
Thank you to Azorius. He cost me quite a lot to do these guest appearances, so I'm very thankful for him and his time. Yes, that is a real kind of quick overview of the Titan Isles. So, I guess we'll start by saying, we mentioned it in the first half, but Campaign 3, much like Campaign 1, Year 1, took place 1 year after the Eschaton. We now know that Elysia Rising, our second campaign, took place 2 years after the Eschaton. And sort of, well, we won't mention Tales at this moment, but Campaign 3 takes place 3 years after the Eschaton. The Eschaton being the Armageddon-like catastrophe that ended what is now known as the War of Dragons. Dragons being the gods, the deities of the Elsewhere setting. There was a huge kind of civil war between the dragons, the two forces led by the Broodmother, Aya, and the Dragonfather, Akan. That fundamentally resulted in the defeat of Akan, thanks to the emergence of primal deities called world spirits. So we are now 3 years from the era of indefinite time, like mutable time, where the very reality of Elsewhere was kind of being ripped apart, smushed back together. Up was down, left was right. All sorts of weird and wonderful things were happening. Well, I say weird and wonderful, weird and horrendous things were happening. And yeah, Elsewhere now in a state of needing to be rediscovered, because the landscapes that the people of Elsewhere once knew are no longer the landscapes that present themselves, as this world has, for all intents and purposes, been kind of put in a blender and then re-spread out. Yeah, 3 years later, we find the town of Dawlishal. That's where our adventurers are going to meet for the first time. And yeah, the Dawlishal being a small island off within the southern bay of the Titan Isles. The Isles, so we've already established that at the end of the Eschaton, the world spirits returned to Elsewhere. They kind of returned to the Earth to help in Elsewhere's kind of rejuvenation and repair after the effects of the Eschaton. So considering that, for all intents and purposes, the Titan Isles are the top of a mountain range dumped in the sea, it's fascinatingly unpredictable and marvellous that this is the home of 2 world spirits known as Titans. If for anyone who's wanting a little bit of sort of like real world comparison, Dawlishal is very similar to, say, Gibraltar. It's not connected to the main landmass, but it is this tiny speck of ground poking out of the sea that the mad lads who established Dawlishal decided they would kind of put a town on. the Isles proper, influenced by the presence of these slumbering world spirits, is a place of like wondrous beauty, extravagant like displays of nature. Everything on the Isles is big. In our kind of session 0, one of the touch points I've kind of alluded to was it's a bit like Isla Nublar from the second Jurassic Park film, in terms of its sort of like verdant growth and abundant beauty, minus the dinosaurs, maybe. So yeah, that's as far as sort of like settings goes, it's just worlds apart from what we've kind of explored before. So campaign 1 was a very, we could say, almost like traditional fantasy temperate location, with some kind of fantastical aspects thrown in for good measure. Campaign 2, wildly different. It was a city floating through an endless void, assailed by ever present spirits that want to devour the living. So I thought it'd be a nice change of pace to kind of bring it back to bring it more towards normality, but in a much bigger, kind of more extravagant kind of way. So when, in terms of our session 0 notes, and by all means feel free to jump in, because I'm acutely aware this might end up being the Dan show, if I keep on talking too long. There were a few things that we absolutely kind of wanted to address, right? Tell you what, let's if I put you guys away for a moment, boop, and then I turn this on, boop. There we go.
No.
So we
Don't
have
put us away, Dan.
So we have a map of the Titan Isles in the middle. To be fair, beg my pardon. Yes, I know I said I wouldn't speak about it, but we did have a Tales from Elsewhere. Where it wasn't meant to be a campaign, turns into a campaign. So thank you, Chris, for reminding me. Yeah, Tales was really handy in kind of establishing some of the principles, right? Some of the ideas that bound Elsewhere as a developing world, and developing in so much as like the people of Elsewhere are rediscovering it, but we ourselves as players and audiences are also, for all extents and purposes, building Elsewhere as we go along. So the story is just as much yours as it is ours. Yes, the whole kind of idea for Titan Isles is it's just a bit different to everything we've done before. So when we were sort of like brainstorming what we were kind of imagining, there were a few ideas that bubbled to the surface very quickly. There was mention of pirates. There was some excited mention of pirates. We kind of alluded to ourselves that the town of Dawlishal in the southern bay there will be kind of akin to almost like a Tortuga type place, just where it's a bit sort of like rough around the edges, quite exciting. There's like a definite through vein of like seedy criminal activity. It's just sort of like, it's not completely beneath the surface, it's got facets of it poking up into public, just to kind of make things a little bit more edgy. Pirates. There was some kind of I really wanted to dive into the nature aspects of campaign 3 and a lot more, especially given that there was so little of it in campaign 2, for good reason. And it was stuff that we kind of only relatively lightly touched on in campaign 1. So I thought this would be a good point to really kind of bring the plight of the world spirits like the reality of the world spirits into much sharper focus. Yeah, was so it's I guess in terms of inspirations, I mean, I'm 100% wearing it on my sleeve, but I was suggesting Legend of Zelda, specifically, like kind of appropriately, like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, given that it's that kind of like this beautiful post-apocalyptic type of setting. We've also mentioned like Studio Ghibli, specifically Boy and the Heron, for that sort of like almost like whimsical, but like undeniably kind of dangerous fantasy. Scavenger's Reign, the which obviously is a sci-fi show on Netflix, but just for that kind of sheer wonder, like looking at things and being like, I don't know if this is going to eat me or not, like that kind of. I mentioned MMOs earlier. I can't get away from sort of like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14. Both have been like massive influential cornerstones for me personally. And then because we knew that the Titan Isles were big, we also then looked at Shadow of the Colossus. So yeah, a couple of points there. But yeah, was there anything? I guess I'll hand the mics over to you. I'll start with Tim first. We'll go back round the other way.
Okay.
Are there any what aspects, what ideas, what kind of themes are you really hoping for? Not a circus, presumably. What themes are you kind of looking forward to in the campaign, bearing in mind that, given the collaborative nature of Daggerheart, you can tell me truths, and then that they're there, kind of thing. So is there anything in particular that you're kind of looking forward to or that you'd like to introduce?
I'm not going to lie, my circus-based ideas seem a huge waste of time now. No, in general, especially given that I'm playing Druid, just some weird and wonderful wildlife is always a big bonus for me. Obviously, you mentioned Scavenger's Reign. That's one of my favorite shows in recent memory. I like not knowing what's around the corner, and I like not knowing if something's going to be my friend or if it's going to poison me slowly over a series of weeks.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to have stuff like that. I'd like. I guess the kind of vibe I'd like to invoke in all of you is very much one of there's this sense of sort of urgent need to discover, but knowing that you might get eaten by some there's that it's moving forward, drawn forward by your wonderment in spite of the potential threat that surrounds you, kind of thing. But hopefully net beautiful overall.
Yeah, I think maybe just worth mentioning as well the idea of the element of Lovecraftian, not so much in terms of cosmic horror, but in terms of, because there are these kind of incredibly powerful spirits, I think spirits that are powerful to the point where we can't stop them doing stuff just by throwing rocks at them.
Yeah, that was definitely one of our kind of corner, one of our touchstones was, as a player or GM principle, some problems can't be punched to resolution. Much in the way of us on our little flying speck of dirt flying through the cosmos, when we are despite everything that the human race has accomplished, when we are faced with the sheer awesome potential of nature, there is little to nothing that we can do a lot of the time, apart from try and keep out of its way, like try and adapt to, like, try to survive for all intents and purposes. So yeah, we're very much wanting to drum up that idea. Was there anything else, Tim, or are you keeping your cards close to your chest to surprise me later on?
Oh, we'll find out as we go.
Okay, amazing. What about you, Georgia? Was there anything that you're kind of hoping for, or that you'd like to place upon the table?
I'm much in the same way. I love me some
You're on
big.
mute.
No, we're good.
Interesting way to pause. I love me some big creatures.
Yes.
Very sort of Hilda, the giants from Hilda, or Shadow of the Colossus. You are tiny creature is big. Love that for us. I love that kind of spirit of adventure. Kind of, you are the small thing in the wilderness. And I love me some found family-ness along that. I'm very interested to see how all of our characters interact. Because I'm sensing some tensions between possibly the two sides of sort of more local to the islands and then the adventurers coming in. Divorce aside.
Yeah, I guess.
But that kind of, I don't know, that sort of jungly kind of, like, even the plant life is huge. Kind of that aspect of exploration is very fun to me.
Yes, there's definitely going to be, kind of dry pushes to have storylines that kind of revolve around. I mean, because there's always that question of, like, well, man versus nature kind of thing, right? Like, there's always that kind of contention, but that kind of ideological plot point can be applied in so many different ways. So yeah, 100%. I think a lot of our tensions will naturally derive from that. What about you, Nate? If you could talk for an extended bit of time, I'm just quickly writing out a little something for chat.
Okay.
Is there anything that you're hoping to introduce or would like to be included or some such?
I don't think so much being introduced. I'm looking forward to, because obviously with campaign 2, that was just one sort of static area. That was just sort of like the streets. It was, sort of very urban, explory sort of area. So looking forward to sort of getting a little bit more out there into sort of more chaotic nature. I think from the very last episode of Tales that we played, where we were obviously in like the desert, I think campaigns very rarely go into like sort of extreme terrains like that. Especially like games that I've played, it is usually very much like you are in like a town or you are in the woods in a forest, so on and so forth. So going out and sort of tackling some very different terrains, I think will be really interesting to see how our characters sort of how they deal with that, especially considering I think at least sort of 2 of our characters are more sort of like city-based, sort of like more population-based characters, and how they sort of fare in that surroundings. And like Georgia said, like how our characters are going to interact with like not only just like each other, but how they're also going to interact with that very stark change of environment that they're probably not very much used to.
Okay.
Was that long enough?
A little bit more, actually. A little bit more.
Okay.
What out of left field thing would you like to introduce in the 11th hour kind of thing?
I did actually think of one, and now it's completely left my mind.
Well, you've got time to think of it now, mate. That's
Let's stay quiet for 5 minutes while I try and remember what I thought about. Because we've already got some as from like the east. This is where I have to remember my compass directions.
Yes.
Sort of like the east of the island. We've got those. We've got some geezers. I think we've popped in there. that are coming down from.
So to the east of our map, we've got so there's a mountain. Well, I say mountain range. It's the peaks of mountains. But yeah, there's a large chunk of like floating rock with what seems to be
and
like
then
an
it's sort of
endless
below
stream.
that.
Yeah, an endless stream, like endless water supply streaming from this floating rock. There's almost like a burrow-like crater on the west side of the island. Yeah,
I'm also looking geezers. Yes.
Oh, some geezers.
Some
Absolute
geezers.
geezers.
Some absolute geezers.
Dan, can we have a village of geezers in the geese?
It's gonna be-
Just below the waterfall, just a load of geezers.
there's
Daddy Dyers.
Yeah.
As far as the eye
Everywhere.
can see.
regardless, despite how dangerous people have told, like tourists, how dangerous the Isles are, there is a stag do that's gotten lost on the Isle. And
That's why it's
Always
dangerous.
happens. Always happens.
Yeah,
It's just multiplied. They don't know how. It's just
yeah,
You're
It's
gonna
when they
get
get too
Klingons to
rowdy
unlock
on the
it.
boat tours, they just sort of leave them there and,
yeah.
and sort of float off.
Just a group.
See, now
of-
I'm just imagining
They're going
dire-
for it. They're going for it.
Danny Dyers.
Big, huge Danny Dyers
dozen-
just
Yeah.
stomping around.
A dozen Danny Dyers with like the lore of our ears, but like one of them's dressed like a giant chicken. Like it's just
Yeah.
one of them's in a banana costume.
yeah. I will running away from like an 18-foot tall gorilla. Like
There's
One of
also
them is-
Danny Dyer.
Yeah.
when well, maybe,
Are they all on one of those like beer bikes that you can get?
perfect?
Pedaling around the island.
I'll be honest with the five of you. When like in my head, I was just like, right, what am I like? What ideas can I conjure to sort of like populate the island with? So I can just kind of pluck them out the air when we need them. And like one of my ideas was just like basically dire everything. So like DIRE. So like it's not a wolf, it's a dire wolf. It's not a badger, it's a dire badger. Like just to give me that idea of like everything's gonna be bigger. But now we've understood that could be DYER.
Dyer.
We've completely changed the paradigm.
Yeah, right. Every creature, every force on the island embodies the spirit of Danny Dyer.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so dangerous and mysterious.
It's
like my
Venus
dream.
flycaps.
My dream.
Amazing. So real quick, I'll interrupt these ideas to highlight what I've popped in the chat. So we're gonna give a quick shout out to Demiplane. They've told us that we don't have to, but I would love to, because quite frankly, I was like really humbled that they reached out to us. They have given us 5 digital copies of the Daggerheart rules for us to hand out to you, the audience, and given that we have such a drive for sort of like collaboration and sort of like collaborative world building, what I would like to do, I would like to offer this sort of like the following competition as such. Dawlishal I've described as a very kind of busy, bustling kind of tourist hotspot in the rediscovered world, and when you have such a vibrant environment, you need kind of vibrant NPCs to fill that world. So what we're gonna do, like we've got this stream tonight, we've also got a live stream tomorrow where we're going to review the new rules. Humble brag. We're gonna go through, look at what the new rules are, see how they've affected our characters, see what things we're going to use, like what new things from the book we're going to use for the campaign, and so on and so forth. Fundamentally, at some point after we finish the stream tomorrow, we would like to pick NPCs created by you, the audience, that we can drop into hopefully this campaign. So, you know, all we need is like a little bit of a description, like what their heritage is. Are they Laravar? Are they a Wolfkin? Are they a Sprite? What their person, like what they're like as a person, what they do as a job, why they're here. Just kind of give me enough of a brief that I can throw this character into the campaign. Characters can interact with them, so on and so forth. And our 5 favourite NPCs will win their creators a copy of the digital rules for Daggerheart. So the rules are going live tomorrow. Basically, once we've figured out who our favourites are, I'll one way or the other get in touch with the winners, and then we can kind of divvy out the codes that way. But yeah, this is going to be just a fantastic opportunity for you to quite literally create something that then affects the world. You never know. You might create an NPC and then something terrible happens, and then that NPC somehow ends up as the BBEG of the campaign. Who knows? But yeah.
Oh, Dan, is it worth adding that, like, so throughout we've been doing like all the beta testing and everything,
Yes.
we've been using Demiplane, obviously, to make like our character sheets and to go through the rules and stuff like that. And just adding that it is actually like a really good platform for this. Like, I found it super easy to make characters, super easy to find rules I need to. So yeah, if anyone wants to get a copy of the rules, it's probably good to also, if then they're quite happy with it being digital, getting it on Demiplane I think is like the best option, one of the best options. I think you can get it through drive-through RPG as well. But like, can't deny that Demiplane is like a really good platform to get it from.
So, I mean, for the 6 of us, as of sort of like next Monday when the campaign starts proper, like, we will be using Demiplane for our character sheets. I'm almost certainly going to be using it for checking rules and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's absolutely right. Like, as a resource, it's just been like invaluable for us. And yeah, so if you're interested in Daggerheart, like getting a free copy of the rules, you know, digital copy of the rules would just be massive for you. Chris, yes, just like an Elsewhere character, it doesn't have to be kind of Daggerheart specific. We just want, like, I'm more interested in like an interesting character that we can drop in and interact with. Anything
Dan,
comes to mind.
Oops,
Yes.
sorry, I was going to say, for people who are not sort of like massively, who want to sort of find out about the Elsewhere universe but are not like massively knowledgeable about it, would it be all right for them to just sort of come up with a kind of character without really knowing like the heritages, and being able to drop that in?
For sure, yeah, 100%. So, yeah, one of the things with the Elsewhere setting is that we have like bespoke heritages. Like, the people of Elsewhere are not the sort of like the standard affair that you'd see in other tabletop RPGs or for like fantasy settings. But yeah, if you're not particularly au fait with the difference between a Laravar and an Asavar, by all means, kind of give like that bit. We can kind of like I can adjust and amend and tweak. So if you feel more comfortable giving us a more kind of generic, like, we don't have dwarfs, but if you go, this character's a dwarf, then I can make the appropriate kind of translations to make them lore appropriate for the Elsewhere setting. Yes. Hello, Errol. Hi. Welcome. So, beg pardon. That's our little competition. Yeah, just a couple of sentences. That's all we need. The 5 most interesting, exciting, we'll bring to life. I'll probably smash up a Hero Forge model for them. They're gonna either become the next hero or the next BBEG of the campaign. So, with that in mind, Theo, hello. Are there any like campaign touchstones that you wanted to touch on over the space of this campaign?
I think everyone's touched on it, to be honest. It's the man versus nature, how we interact with the environment, because the environment is so different to what we've done before. And I think what was interesting what Nate said about, particularly for myself as Cooper and Griffin, I think they are more social based characters that usually use like charm with people. I think like usually those races and those classes would be that. So I think it'll be really interesting to see like how like my rogue character and the bard character and anyone else who has like more social based skills work within a wilderness setting, because we are going to be out in like more harsher environments. How is that going to affect us and our experiences? How that will affect us leveling up? Like, will we take more wilderness based spells or, you know, things going forward, because which we probably wouldn't do in a normal city based setting. So I'm curious to how things will develop. And I'm also just interested as well, because I know when building the campaign, we were discussing like how the Titan Isles was developed and how there was the idea of that people wanted to spread out but couldn't because of the dangers. And it'd be interesting to see if there are anyone living on the island that we're not expecting to see, like what secrets the island has for us that people don't know, because obviously we are exploring the island. So surely there'll be things to explore that are not necessarily just animals, but more. That's what I'm thinking, and I'm curious, because I'm very curious indeed.
Like, because it is a point that the explorers made landfall on the main landmass proper, and then went, oh no, and then retreated. But when you said that, my brain suddenly went, like, played the clip from Monty Python Holy Grail where they find the rabbit.
Yeah.
And it's just the explorer expedition be like, run away! It's like back to the boats.
The dire rabbit, D-Y.
The dire rabbit, yeah. And then, of all of the land masses, they've decided to grab the small little island, like a couple of miles off into the bay. Yes, no, that's going to be interesting. And so, you mentioning sort of like it'd be interesting to see how the characters develop. Something that I think is going to like accidentally influence that is that our characters are going to start at level 4. Now, Daggerheart is a 1 to 10 campaign frame, campaign game. So over the course of the Titan Isles, we're going to go 4, 5, 6 basically. But at level 5, everyone gets a new experience, which is like a player generated, like completely freeform player generated. I guess it's almost like a facet, like a truth about your character. So, I mean, what's one of Cooper's experiences, for example?
One of his is street smarts, which obviously does not help him in a wilderness setting.
Sure.
But I'm sure, like you say, an experience could be added to he's getting used to putting up tents, and I don't know. There could very well be an experience that we get to role play out. Like, I don't know, Abe being like, I'm going to help you with X, and Cooper being like, you're actually very good at this, big guy, and then learning how to do it as an experience, etc.
And then you get 3 hope and I get 3 hope. Brilliant.
Because we love Daggerheart, don't we, guys? We love Daggerheart.
Yeah, there are some things I am hoping changed.
Let's hope not.
So yeah, no, that's absolutely fair enough. Sorry for just another quick stop. If you can refresh video again, and then we'll see your beautiful face in motion.
So skill.
Yeah.
So stoic.
What about you, Libby?
So yeah, I mean, all the things, but obviously I watched Studio Ghibli, but like, as someone who pretty much only plays large open world games like Skyrim, Oblivion,
Hello Kitty Adventure Island,
and the big one that has really got in my brain for this campaign is, if anyone's played Ghost of Tsushima, which is just like the most just swathing, beautiful landscapes and areas of complete devastation. And yeah, I'm just really excited to do a really sort of exploratory, like survivalist kind of campaign. I think that's going to be really exciting. And what was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, just those sort of group dynamics of survival. We're going full Jumanji, aren't we? So it's going to be great. And I think for my own character, I think he's quite happy to be out in the wilderness, but not with people. So I think that's going to be his biggest, having to rely on other people to not bring death to the party, which is very possible with these idiots. But I think it's good. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm interested in is, that survival kind of stuff, because that's what I like. Lone wolf, forced to not be alone.
Yes, that's that sounds good. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I guess it's always the case with like tabletop RPG parties. Like everyone's got their own kind of their own theatres that will become their points of like conflict. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because, like, for all of the tabletop RPG stuff that I've run, I've realised like I've very rarely done, like showcased this kind of like such a high level of like raw power as like when you have a threat that isn't necessarily like the big bad. Like there's been a part of me, for example, that's been really intrigued by Rime the Frost Maiden by Wizards of the Coast, where the sheer like the weather is as much of a problem as the massive like dragon that's flying overhead kind of thing. So I think it's going to be really interesting kind of seeing how everyone's dealing with that whilst also kind of dealing with their own bits, whether it's Abe's forced socialization, Cooper and Cassandre's forced couples therapy, Ghadi just watching in horror as like these four strangers just kind of bumble around, not treading on things they shouldn't do, not treading on things they should, so on and so forth. So
not respecting nature.
Exactly.
It's for burning. It's for making fire, isn't it?
So I'm gonna quickly ping us over to a quick map of.
Yeah, you're back now.
Okay, apologies. Apologies. I just imagine I said something really insightful that is now lost to the ether. Yes, Dawlishal. It's I said quite a lot, didn't I? So Dawlishal is a very small town. It's less than a mile square. And that includes like the shops, the tourism traps, the homes. This is a place that doesn't really have a lot of room for its own kind of agriculture. So the very nature of the expedition towns is that they are all linked back to the capital city of Avamore via a portal. So Dawlishal, being one of the sort of like the late bloomer towns, benefited from the experience of towns that were established before it. So the architects and the explorers knew what they were doing when they needed to do it. So Dawlishal has kind of boomed in popularity and boomed in size and structure much more quickly than some of the other expedition towns. It's been interesting to figure out, like, to compare the size of Dawlishal to like real world cities. So it's going to make sense to me in Livy, but if we were to compare Dawlishal to Brighton, a mile of coast is like Churchill Square, which is like the main shopping centre in Brighton, to the East Pier, which when you're in Brighton, that is a tiny distance in the grand scheme of things.
Just a walk down the hill.
Just a walk down the hill. But yeah, that's basically the basis for like that whole area encapsulates like the entirety of Dawlishal. It's got beaches that tourists can flock to. It's got the boat tours around the Isles. You've got street magicians that may or may not be grifting you. It's got everything that like a tourist trap needs to be acknowledged as a tourist trap. But yes, that's interesting. We've also we've got a couple of like core NPCs that are going to be pottering around here. In a somewhat bittersweet revelation, the name of Dawlishal actually stemmed from these 5 here all creating NPCs, much like you can do in our competition to win some digital rules for Daggerheart. So the 5 of them created NPCs that were part of the original expedition. 4 of them are, by the looks of it, are going to be found in the streets of Dawlishal in various capacities. 1 of them is not so fortunate, but their sacrifice did mean that the town was named after them. So poor old Dawlish didn't quite make it off the main island, it would seem.
You killed my boy, Dan. I'll never forgive you.
but you know, you could either have talked to Dawlish or just been like in Dawlish, you know.
Oh.
Done.
That's an innuendo there, Dan. That's great.
So yes,
Yeah.
I've never even met him.
But yeah, that is 100% sort of like the vibe we're going for. Like if anyone has like an idea or a character or something like that, whether they're playing along, like whether they're one of the players down below or yourselves, like when we're streaming, shout out the ideas. If it's a good idea, then absolutely we can look at sort of like dropping it in, like with your blessing. But yeah, so that is Dawlishal. This is basically where we're going to be starting next Monday. I'm going to switch us back over. So let's put away the map, and I've got you guys scrolling on through again. There we go. I think, unless I've missed anything, I think we're pretty much ready for campaign 3, right? Like we've met our characters, we've met our islands, we've discussed a couple of ideas. Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm excited. Basically,
They've just got to release Daggerheart tomorrow. That's all they're going to do.
Release Daggerheart tomorrow. Yeah, absolutely. So
If not, we're all going to be crowded around Dan's one book.
Yes. Yeah, everyone's just. I'm gonna have webcams behind me, just all pointing at the rule book on my desk. So with that in mind, yeah, this is quite a big event for us. It's not very often that I start a campaign before the rules officially release. But no, we definitely, like, off the back of what we experienced during the Daggerheart playtest, like, we just knew, like, with the lessons that we learned while we were playing it, we knew that the story that we could create with it would be a good one. So yeah, really, really excited for what we're able to conjure up during the Titan Isles. And if you are interested in finding out what we think about the rulebook, seeing our reactions to how the new rules absolutely break the character builds, to see what abilities are definitely not gonna be there come tomorrow, and also just kind of join us in like nerding out a little bit and kind of just looking at the ideas that Darrington Press and co have kind of presented us. Then yeah, we some of us are going to be reviewing the Daggerheart rulebook tomorrow night from 7:30 PM UK time, and yeah, it's going to be pretty chill, pretty laid back. We're just gonna kind of go through, nerd out a little bit. So if you're interested, by all means join us. If you would like to see what's in this rulebook digitally for yourself, then once again, start conjuring up NPCs for the elsewhere setting. If you, you might be introducing more competition, but if you know anyone who would be interested in creating an NPC for the campaign, then also tell them. After, at some point between sort of the end of the stream tomorrow night, the start of the campaign proper next Monday, we'll figure out our 5 kind of favourite characters. I'll figure out how we're importing them into the game, and then we'll get you a copy of the rules. I think that's it.
Is it your vote or all of our votes?
I think I think she should be a council. Yeah, we'll get some ideas of the characters, and then I'll do my best to. How will people tell us? So you can. I reckon just comment down below. Drop your comments. Drop in the comments your characters. I appreciate that. Will mean we'll kind of know who's created who. We'll just let your character concept do the talking, and then hopefully it'll appeal to us enough that we go, we definitely want that character bothering our PCs and NPCs over the space of the campaign.
Muscle mummy.
If someone can create a muscle mummy for Livy, I think we'd all be very happy.
I won't be corrupted by votes, but definitely a muscle mummy.
But you're going to be a big muscle daddy, so it's going to be like unstoppable force and immovable object.
What Livy wants to introduce Abe to this muscle mummy with a predator Arnie kind of arm grab.
Yeah.
Chris, you can absolutely submit it anon if you've got ideas. Chuck them in the comments here. There'll be a post that I'll do. I'll probably speak about this on Reddit, and anywhere where I've mentioned that this competition is running, you can absolutely post stuff there, and then I'll collate all of the NPCs. Wonderful. So I think we're all good. We're all ready for
it? You're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends what happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
I might just rewrite my own character.
Yeah,
That's fair. Right, well, we've introduced our characters. We've introduced our campaign setting. I think the last thing that we need to introduce before we sign off, who would like to watch the Campaign 3 Titan Isles intro video?
Yes.
Before we go, thank you all for watching. Thank you 5 for joining me here. If you've enjoyed this, make sure to hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you are watching us on YouTube. Follow us if you're watching us on Twitch. Tune in tomorrow where we do our Daggerheart rules review. And most importantly, tune in next Monday for the start of Campaign 3 of the Elsewhere setting, Titan Isles. Thank you, ladies, gentlemen, and creatures of unfathomable beauty. We love you all. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, I'm Nate, and I'll be playing Griffin, a Sanguivar bard.
Hi, I'm Livy, and I'm playing Abe, the Guardian Keeper.
Hello, my name is Theo, and I'll be playing Cooper, a Dragon Scent rogue.
Hi, my name is Georgia, and I'll be playing Cassandre, an Asavar sorcerer.
Hi, I'm Tim, and I'm playing Ghadi, Majani Druid.
And my name is DM Dan, the Games Master in this adventure.